Welcome to this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast, where we look forward to shaving every day. Welcome to episode 52 of the podcast. My name is Rick DeWeese. I'll be your host today. Today we've got a quick announcement from Queen Charlotte Soaps. I need to tell you what's been going on. We'll do some letters. I've got a phone call. I do a quick first impressions of an Omega brush. I have two soaps that I'm going to talk about this week. One is a lime soap, and the other one is a very special soap from How to Grow a Mustache. I'll also talk about a new razor from How to Grow a Mustache, the Name Taker. I do a quick review of Captain's Choice Aftershave. Maybe I'm an octagonal peg and really don't fit the round hole. How about you? Let's get on with this show and we'll find out. I also got a notification from Queen Charlotte Soaps. It was a note that was sent out to their customers, and this was August 21st, so it was a little bit ago. But it says, we are releasing our newest scent, Cubano Breeze. After months of testing, it's finally ready. Here is the scent description. The Cuban embargo has ended, and you are sitting on the beach in Miami enjoying a cigar. A breeze rolls over the ocean, carrying with itself the clean smell of ocean spray and a light, earthy tobacco scent. You take a whiff of the breeze, take another puff on your cigar, and then close your eyes for your afternoon nap. This is Cubano Breeze. So, it is available as a shaving cream, a shaving soap, and an aftershave balm on the Queen Charlotte Soaps website. So, check it out if you're interested. It does sound rather intriguing, doesn't it? Oh, what a last couple of weeks it's been. But I can see the end in sight. Life is good. I have made chicken salad and lemonade, let me tell you. So how did all this start? A couple of weeks ago, my podcast host, which granted has been fairly good. I mean, I don't really have any complaints, especially when you sit back and realize that my podcast host really didn't charge a whole lot of money to be my podcast host. Okay. And like anything else, well, to a certain extent, you get what you pay for. Oh, okay. I understand that. Well, somewhere along the line, around episode 48 or so, 49, somewhere in that neighborhood, they broke the feed going to iTunes, which means nobody got updates when I put out a new episode. It just kind of sat there. And some people could get to it, some people couldn't. The only way that I could get to it is I had to unsubscribe from myself and then resubscribe, and then it would show up. And then I thought, okay, is it a situation with my podcast app or something like that? So I downloaded another one. It wouldn't show up the last two episodes. It finally showed an episode for episode 50, but the rest of my feed was gone. It's like it just didn't exist. But on the other podcast app, it was there. It was really, really bizarre. Anyhow, about 2 weeks ago, actually a while ago, my podcast host set up a ticket system for support. Okay, on the outside, that's a good idea because hopefully they'll get around to looking at your tickets and dealing with them. So what I found is that they were saying thank you very much for any suggestions that I had, but in any problem tickets, they were just kind of closing them out without, doing much. And they would never contact me. For some reason, they got rid of the email address that allowed me to actually write to a human being and say, hey, can you contact me and say, what the problem is? Is it something on my end? Is it something I'm doing? Can I help in any way? Nothing. Zip, zero, nada, as another radio host would say. So I had no communication with them. Well, this went on for basically 2 weeks. Now, I started this about a year ago, and I must admit the idea of coming on every week and telling you guys what's going on and what I've experienced and had happen the last week in the realm of wet shaving and other rants and issues and things has been, well, it's kind of grown on me, I must say. And so to have an audience that you have built over the course of a year, and then because of something like this not be able to get stuff out to them, the stress that this produced was just immense. Now, at the same time, just to add to it, because apparently the good Lord decided that I needed practice, I guess. As a scoutmaster, I was working on 2 Eagle Scouts that were trying to finish up their boards of review and get certified as Eagle Scouts. Did accomplish that, by the way, but that was terribly stressful on top of everything else. And of course, the ever-present work, that 4-letter word that we have to go to from time to time, because unfortunately, even though I would like to be, I am not independently wealthy. So I have to go and earn a paycheck from time to time, and well, it's when you boil it all down, the amount of stress that I was dealing with was just amazing. So I sat around and I said, okay, what can I do? And because I wanted to give him a chance, and I was looking at another podcast host, one that, is probably the top podcast host in the industry. But it's not free. Just to put this in perspective, this podcast host is well, a little bit more than a Simpson Emperor Super 2-band Badger shaving brush. It's, about, well, a little bit less than just... It's around the same price that I paid for my mixer board. Needless to say, I had to put some thought into it. I had to kind of sit back and reflect. Do I want to continue doing the podcast? Is it worth it to me? Do I enjoy it? Do I want to look at maybe sponsors, monetizing, things like that? Those were the kinds of things that I thought about. And I thought about, okay, why haven't I monetized this yet? My stance has always been that, okay, I didn't really want to, and I don't really want to. I'm not going to throw it out at this point, but at the same time, I don't really want to, because I like to be able to give my honest opinion on anything and feel like I'm not beholden to, well, anyone. But there's a price to pay for that, especially in the podcast business. Okay. So I had to think about it a while, and in the time period that I was thinking about it, I said, okay, there are people out there that want this, the podcast that I'm putting out, and they can't get it through no fault of their own. So what other avenues do I have? And so one of the things that I did is I created a YouTube channel. And it's the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast YouTube channel. And I put the last 4, I believe it's the last 4, podcasts out in a video format on YouTube. Now, of course, that entailed things like, okay, learning how to do it, setting up the channel, doing all that stuff, and then actually editing the 4 shows that I had done and put them on the YouTube channel. Now, under normal circumstances, an editing operation for one of these shows takes probably about 3 hours. Yeah, somewhere in there. And quite honestly, I can chop that from a video standpoint to about an hour and a half, but it's still a substantial amount of time especially when you're, doing 4 of them in a row. Well, then when I did that, the other thing that I hadn't, let's just say there was a comment made about something that I decided, I was going to change that too. So anyhow, I now, during the course of all that, I decided to put in some new music. And the music that I got is a song that someone who I know, an artist, a musician, put together that says "Bring It On." And quite honestly, after the week that I had, actually 2 weeks, with all the stress and it seemed like every time I turned around, it was something just different and another hurdle to overcome. And it's just, okay. Now, in a situation like that, a person has 2 choices. You can either curl up in the fetal position over in the corner and just quit, or you can get up and figure out how the heck to make lemonade out of all these lemons. Or another way to put it is how to make chicken salad out of, you know what. So I scratched my head and thought about it a while and said, okay, I enjoy doing the podcast. I have a lot of listeners out there. I really enjoy the feedback. I enjoy the letters and communicating with you guys, and it just wouldn't be the same without the podcast in the middle of it all. It's my outlet. So I went ahead and signed up for the new podcast host, got all that set up, remixed 4 or 5 shows, downloaded as many as I could before my download limit for the month went out, and then downloaded another one in the new month. And so I've got a couple episodes out there. And then proceeded to try to figure out, okay, can I communicate with my current podcast host and work things out, or, and I never have communicated with them. I found the way to move the feed over without any assistance from them. It was kind of hidden back in the background of the settings for my old podcast host. I have moved the feed. So what does that mean? That means that the feed, in other words, all the podcast episodes that I put out, will now reliably go into iTunes and update into iTunes. So as I put out new stuff, it'll actually be available. I will also continue to put it out on YouTube. I'll probably do that on the weekends, just because Wednesday nights get a little bit hectic for me, and I'm not going to do both at the same time. But I'll try to do that over the course of the weekend. So it'll be a couple 3 days late from the normal podcast, which will still go out on Thursday morning. One nice thing about my new podcast host is I can actually program it so that if I can do things ahead of time, it'll actually go out consistently on Thursday morning, which is an absolute blessing. And the guys over there, I wrote a couple emails to them just to ask them, and quite honestly, they communicated more with me before I was even a member of their operation than my old podcast host has done since I joined. Well, you get what you pay for. And it's really interesting because I was thinking about that and how it kind of related to shaving. And you get what you pay for, and I often wonder, okay, so you have this can of shaving foam, and it's about $2 or $4 or whatever it is, versus, this puck of soap or this can of shaving cream that's like $20. And there's this instinctive reaction to go, no, I'm not going to pay the $20 because I've never done it before. I haven't tested it. I just don't know. I'm not so sure. I need other stuff to make it work right, like a brush and a bowl and things like that. And so I'm going to go with this tried and true that's like, a couple dollars a can, and I'll just continue moving forward with the can of goo. Yeah, it was kind of like that, and I fell right into that trap. When what I should have done is I should have thought about it a minute, reflected on it, and said, maybe there is a better way, done some other investigation and gone, you know what? It's well worth it to spend the money for the jar of good artisan shaving cream, and get a decent brush, because I will be so much happier in the end. It's almost like walking into this journey of wet shaving 10 years ago instead of now. And think of the enjoyment that we would have all had if we had done that. But no, I went and got, the equivalent of the can of goo. Live and learn, live and learn. Yes, I evangelize for wet shaving, but there's like I've said before, this is a way of life, and if I could just get it through my own thick head, I'd be better off. But there you go. So anyhow, we've moved the feed over. It is now a reliable feed, so it will update when we put on new episodes. So we have done that. Let's see, what else? The older episodes from about 48 on back, those are not currently in the feed. I will upload those as I can, unless, of course, I come across some money that I just, don't need, because it's about $2 or so an episode, just give or take, to upload it. And so what ends up happening is, at the end of the day, I've got to upload those eventually. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the interviews first. So I'll get Chris Bailey's interview up there, and I'll also get the interview with the guys from How to Grow a Mustache, the 2-part series there. And I'll get that up there because those were probably the most popular shows, and out of all of them, listening to me ramble on, okay, but what some people really, really want to hear is those interviews. So I'll get those up. I'll also put those out on YouTube as soon as I can. But it has been, it was an absolute weight off my back. It was really a celebration when I looked at iTunes and realized that the feed had actually moved to my new service. I was so happy. Because what that means is I don't have to come up with a new podcast name. I don't have to find new, get guys to sign up again. The old subscribers are still there. It's just so much easier. This is not at all. This really is not the way that I was anticipating my 50-second episode to be. I really did not. I thought, I would reflect on the past year of podcasting. I would talk about the past year of shaving. I would do, some rants about some things. Instead, I have been spending my time trying to figure out, where do I go from here, what's next, and how do I make this work? Hopefully, I have done that. Hopefully, it's something that I have done that you guys, hopefully it's something you guys appreciate and understand, and I am so, so thankful that you have been patient with me. I will admit that myself, if I had gone through this as a listener, I probably would have gone, the guy's not serious, click, gone. But again, that's just me. Okay, so that's what has been going on. So, new feed, new music, new YouTube channel. Other than that, we've lost a few episodes. We'll get them back as time permits. We're moving forward. Hope you join me in the trip. So I got a comment from Carson a while ago, and I had forgotten to read it previously, so let's correct that. Carson writes, Hey Rick, just got home and downloaded episode 49. Can't wait till next week for the big 5-0. I want to wish you an early congratulations. You have given out some great information and helped me to enjoy this newfound hobby. Even while at work, thanks to my iPad. I was able to save a shaving mug from an antique store shelf this week. A nice milk glass Avon mug with a train engine on it. Nothing super fancy, but another shaving mug for $2. What's not to love? Thanks again for all your hard work, Carson. Well, thanks, Carson. I greatly appreciate the comment on the blog. Yeah, that's great that you were able to save an old shaving mug. It's interesting when you see that sometimes what people don't appreciate, the old shaving mugs and sometimes the old brushes. Even if the bristles are worn out, I've got a bunch that I need to work on, and I need to put new knots in them. And but I enjoy going and finding those things and, well, giving them a loving home. So thank you for giving this shaving mug a loving home. I also got a comment from Jim. He writes, "New and improved usually means that it is worse. Pure Springs. Years ago had a ginger ale that was absolutely delicious. It was new and improved, and then it tasted ordinary, like all the other ginger ales. President's Choice had an Earl Grey tea that had a very distinctive and delicious flavor. It was new and improved. Then it tasted like mud. There are many other examples of this." Well, Jim, thank you very much for the comment on the blog. I couldn't agree with you more. When it says new and improved, yeah, it's new, and it's typically improved not for you, but for the company that makes it. It's usually a different formulation to reduce costs, or to reduce complexity, or to make it easier to manufacture in some way. Very rarely does new and improved actually benefit the consumer. When it does, it typically makes headlines. The classic example are the so-called new and improved razors that are coming out. I mean, I'm sorry, but it's just another patentable gimmick. Thank you very much, Jim. Appreciate the comment. I also got a letter from Mark this week. There are a few YouTube videos on advanced shaving methods. One speaks about the Gillette slide. It is basically a diagonal stroke with a double-edged razor. Gillette always suggested the diagonal stroke in its directions. And so he sent me a picture, which I'll link up to on the blog, and it is the direction sheet for a Gillette Super Speed. On the videos, it suggests that only advanced shavers try this after 2 regular passes. If you do this diagonal slide with no pressure on a well-prepared beard, it's a good stroke to learn in your shaving routine. Instructions from old Jim single-edged razors also mention a diagonal stroke. Have you ever tried the Gillette slide? If so, would you recommend wet shavers give it a try? Love the podcast, Mark. Well, Mark, quite honestly, I probably do the Gillette slide on a regular basis without really realizing it. It's one of those things that instead of coming straight, we kind of come at a bit of an angle. I would say that I probably do the Gillette slide more than anything else, replicating something that I have coming in the mail, and that's that is a slant razor. I wanted to give a slant razor a try, but quite honestly, in a lot of locations, yeah, I'm probably doing the Gillette slide and probably don't even know it. It's one of those things that you just kind of unconsciously do when you're shaving, to make practice and routine straight strokes. I'm sorry, that just seems too tedious to me. I'm not not that kind of a guy. I just kind of do what feels right, and yeah, I'm probably sliding a little bit and in essence replicating a slant razor. And that's one of the reasons that slant razors became popular, because they were doing it even if you were taking a straight stroke. Yeah, so yes, I would definitely say give it a try. I don't know why they would say, do it with no pressure and, well-prepared beard. I would think, the pressure aspect is determined by your razor and blade combination, your experience level, and your comfort level with these kind of things. Well-prepared beard kind of goes without saying. A good lather will save you much wailing of teeth, wailing and gnashing of teeth, in the razor burn department. So that's always a good thing. I would suggest giving it a try. Instead of essentially what you're doing is instead of taking a stroke and coming straight down, you're coming off just a little bit at a slight angle. Now, when I do it, I'm probably coming off maybe 10, 15 degrees. I'm not getting ridiculous and doing 45-degree slides or anything like that, but 5, 10 degrees, it serves the purpose. Anyhow, Mark, as always, thank you for the letter. Got a comment on one of the YouTube videos that I put up, and unfortunately, I ended up having to take it down. But the comment is here in my email nonetheless. So the comment is from Mahesh, and he said, agree on being well groomed. I also agree that if you keep a beard, it requires upkeep. Keep it groomed. It is actually a bit more work to keep a beard in the proper way. And I couldn't agree more. It's one of those things that sometimes we forget about, and a lot of guys go out there and think they're doing the right thing by looking scraggly. It's much better to be well groomed. Mahesh, thank you very much for the comment. I greatly appreciate it, and you were one of the first comments on my YouTube channel, so thank you very much. So let's take a phone call.
Hey, Rick. It's Joe from Southern Arizona, Homesteadonomics on YouTube. I have a quick question for you. I recently discovered a channel on YouTube called The Nomad Barber. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but it's basically a young British guy that travels the world studying barbering, I guess traditional shaving and different things like that just throughout the world. Not sure if you've seen any of those videos, but they're pretty interesting. And my other question was I wanted to see if, during your time in Europe, if you ever got a chance to experience a shave from like a traditional Turkish barber, or I'm not sure if you ever went over to Turkey or Eastern Europe, but it sounds like those guys are pretty talented over there. So anyway, just love to hear your thoughts, and always love to hear the show. All right, thanks. Bye.
All right, Joe. Well, thank you very much for the phone call. I do greatly appreciate it. Yes, I do know of the Nomad Barber, and in fact, I believe he had an interview with Douglas and Ryan Stephen Green over there at How to Grow a Mustache. I'll have to check that. So hold on a second. Yes, in fact, I was not mistaken, and I will put a link up here to the podcast that Douglas Smythe and Ryan Stephen Green did. It was Mustache and Blade, Episode 7. Interview with Miguel Gutierrez, the Nomad Barber, and so they actually talked to him. I recalled hearing about it and or hearing the interview when it was done. And thought, man, that's just pretty cool. And so, yeah, I would definitely suggest checking out that interview on Episode 7 of the Mustache and Blade podcast. Now, as far as when I was over in Europe going and getting a shave, no, unfortunately, a couple of reasons for that. Number one, I never made it down into the areas that were known for shaves. So that was number one. And number two, quite honestly, for me, that was a period of my life where shaving was just, well, a chore. It wasn't anything special. It was, I was shaving with a disposable razor in the shower using ordinary soap. So I wasn't looking at it as something to enjoy, wasn't looking at it as something special. I was just, well, it was what it was. So that's the story on that. Anyhow, Joe, thank you very much for the phone call. And if anybody else would care to give me a call, call me on the Wet Shaving Hotline, 864-372-6234. So another one of the Facebook groups over there on Facebook is the Wet Shaving Enablers Buy, Sell, and Trade group. And I happen to be a member of that, and I was perusing the group the other day and saw someone who was clearing some of the stuff out of his den. And one of the things that I picked up that I'd never had before, and so I wanted to give it a try, was a brush. It happened to be an Omega boar brush. Now, the reason that I got it is because I was getting a whole bunch of other stuff for him, and it was a little bit off the current price. And since I was getting other stuff from him, well, I figured I'd pick this up too. So these are kind of my initial impressions. The brush that I have is an Omega 183 professional boar brush. Okay, so just first impressions. This thing is huge. All right, the handle is large, comfortable, but large. It's chrome plated. It's got a rather, I don't know, it is a rather cheap, I guess is the best way to put it, Omega sticker on it. It's even misaligned just slightly to kind of add to the effect. And it's right next to the seam because the plastic or the handle is made out of plastic, and there's a seam running right down both sides of it. You know, the seam is nicely finished in that it's not sharp or anything like that, but it is definitely a plastic handle. And then at the bottom it says Omega and made in Italy. Okay, fair enough. Now the thing that's the handle's large. The handle it feels good. I mean it gives you a good grip. It gives you a good hold. The chrome plating on the plastic seems to be nice. The knot itself is looks like it's set into black plastic, and then the black plastic is set into the chrome handle. I may be wrong on that, but it looks like the knot is embedded in kind of a plastic black plastic ring. The loft on this thing is a whopping 62 millimeters, and the knot on it is 26 millimeters. This thing is huge. Now, this particular brush that I bought, even though I bought it used, doesn't look like it's been broken in. It doesn't look like it's been used much. And the initial impressions that I've had with this thing, just using it a couple of times, is that it does a very nice job lathering. It's got a good bit of backbone. It needs the ends to split so that it'll soften up just a little bit. But right out of the delivery box, anyhow. I don't know how many times the guy that had it before me used it, but right out of the delivery box, it's not too bad. I mean, it's not harsh. So it's not too bad. Now, the thing that I noticed that was most unique about this thing so far is that this big old knot sucks in the soap. So what I would do with a normal brush, like a Samog or the Plisson or even my smaller Badgers, it would generate a lot of lather that would stay in the bowl because the brush just wouldn't be able to absorb it. And what I noticed on this one was that the brush basically sucked up the good majority of that lather and held it in the bristles, which is very, very nice, actually, because, you have all of that available to you. So far, I'm liking it. This brush is, if you buy it on the internet, it is, when I checked, a whopping $11. Okay, so that's $8 cheaper than my favorite Samog. So a whopping $11, and so far from what I've seen, yeah, it's not a bad brush at all. So it's interesting. It'll be fun to see how this thing breaks in and how it progresses. So I'll probably use this a little bit more than I than I normally would, just to speed up and enhance that break-in process, and I'll let you know how it is. It is this 183 bore bristle shaving brush is from Omega's professional line. So I don't know if that makes a difference or not. So if you've got any experience with an Omega brush, send it in. Send me an email or give me a call. So far I'm very favorably impressed with it, especially considering the $11 price tag. That's not a bad deal. So anyhow, I just wanted to give you my initial impressions of the Omega Bore Brush. Okay, so the soap that I have been playing with, in addition to everything else that I've been dealing with, has been GOF Trumper Lime. Now, this was sent to me by none other than Chris Bailey over there at TSE Evangelist, or TS Evangelist. Yeah, that guy, over on YouTube. Anyhow, I had picked up a strop from him, and he threw this in the box, and thank you very much, because it was fun to play with. The shaving cream itself is really, really nice. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's got a great smell. It is such a mild lime scent. It's rich and it's a wonderful, wonderful lime scent. I really enjoyed that part. It lathered well. It did a good job, but there was a problem. What was the problem, you ask? Well, the problem was that apparently I have an allergic reaction to this soap. And over a couple of days of using it, it busted out, in not quite a rash, but razor bumps and everything else on my face. That sucked. I mean, it was just like, this is bad. Ouch. I didn't know if it was the razor. I didn't know if it was the soap. It turned out it was the soap. As soon as I went back to another soap, it cleared up within a couple of days. It's the soap, and so this one is going to be piffed along, as it were, because I can't use this. I love the smell of it, though. It's so rich. I mean, it really was just a wonderful, wonderful scent, and it went so well with the Captain's Choice lime. I mean, everything was just lime. It was just nice. I really enjoyed it. Unfortunately, I couldn't use it, but it did. It lathered well. Good cushion, good glide. Performance was really, really nice. I just had an allergic reaction to it. And unfortunately, the other soaps that I've experienced allergic reactions to, and I haven't used them in a long time, are sandalwoods, which is unfortunate because I absolutely adore the smell of sandalwood, and I like the scent here of lime, and it's like, okay, all the scents that I really enjoy I can't use because I'm allergic to them. I see how this game is played. Just one of those things. Anyhow, that's my quick report and a quick review of the GOF Trumper Lime Shaving Cream. The soap that I've been using this week is the How to Grow a Mustache CAD Reserve Synergy 2.0 Classic Shaving Cream Scent. Now, CAD. What does that stand for? Cease and desist. It's a good name, and it just felt kind of like the soap that I should be using this week after my experiences with the music people and those kind of things. So I kind of appreciated it just for that aspect alone. Now the smell is excellent. I've really enjoyed the smell. It is definitely the classic Barbasol smell, and done a great job replicating that. The Synergy 2.0, it's kind of a whipped Synergy. It's white, where the old Synergy soap pucks were kind of a honey yellowish, if you will, kind of a golden color almost. And of course they were solid. They weren't whipped. What I noticed on this one is that you seem to have a little bit more, texture. And the texture in the soap, the bumpiness, if you will, as it's in there, seems to make it easier to, load your brush. I seem to get much easier loading with this stuff than I do with normal Synergy. Not that it's hard, but it's just that much easier. Synergy has never been difficult to load. Now, the other thing that not caught me by surprise, but met my expectations, I guess is the best way to put it, is that it lathered just as well as the classic Synergy soaps. So I of course really like the classic Synergy soap formula, and this 2.0 seems to be a winner as well. Now the story behind this soap, the cease and desist, or the CAD soap, it started out as Barber Pole and then Barber Soul, or the other way around, I can't remember. And then somewhere along the line, a certain party received a letter that basically said, cease and desist using the name or likenesses or anything else, And it's like, oh, God, here we go. We're just talking shaving soap, for crying out loud. It's not like we're trying to take over the universe. But, there are lawyers out there that's how they make their income, I suppose. So there you go. And what would, from my perspective anyway, be an homage to a classic, a classic soap, a classic scent, whatever, turned into, cease and desist. Anyhow, I have really enjoyed it. It's got, like I said, great latherability, loads the brush very, very nicely, very, very easily. Lathers great. Just like every other Synergy soap that I've tried, the lather just kind of pours out of the bowl. And so from that aspect, it's fabulous, of course. The glide and cushion on this stuff is very, very nice. Ranks right up there, and it's interesting. I come to appreciate soaps. I've come to appreciate soap makers, whether it be, Douglas over at How to Grow a Mustache, or Katie's, or, any of the others, Ralph over at Knockout Shave. They're just, all of them. They do a fabulous job, and really for me the big thing is, like I was saying the other week, how do we get this stuff into the hands of people who just don't know? Because after trying some of the so-called shaving soaps that are being sold as such, oh my gosh. This is, it's like those are foothills, and the can of soap that I'm holding in my hand is the mountain. It's really a completely different league of experience and expectations, really. And so if you haven't tried one of the artisan soaps that is out there, you owe it to yourself. They're really not that expensive for what you get. And you owe it to yourself to understand truthfully what a good lather and shaving soap is. And of course, the smells. It's very, very difficult to describe, but the quality of smells that are being offered right now are just absolutely fabulous. It's these are natural ingredient soaps. So they are, they're not chemical laden, and that's a good thing. It really is a good thing. You're getting much higher quality this way than you would otherwise. So, all soaps, all true shaving soaps are much better than goo in a can. There is no doubt, but there's certain soaps that stand out above the others, and some that everybody knows about. And the big thing is we need to let the rest of the public know. So the razor that I've been using is a How to Grow a Mustache razor, and this happens to be the Name Taker. So this is a straight comb razor, and this thing it's very similar. The head is, I believe, the same head that is on the S42 Symmetry or Synergy. I'm sorry, it's the same head, I believe, that's on the S42 Synergy razor. The difference and the thing that kind of sets this thing apart is the handle. The handle on this thing is big, beefy, hefty. It's definitely got some weight to it. Beautiful knurling on it. Absolutely gorgeous knurling on it. This thing is the head is 16 millimeters in diameter, and it's made out of brass. It's huge, and all the weight is in fact in the head. So that's it's big. And it falls very readily to hand. It's about the same length as the handle that was on the Synergy razor. It's maybe 5 millimeters shorter, but not too bad. It's got very, very nice knurling on it. And I put a feather blade in it, and so far the shaves that I've gotten out of it have been very, very good. I mean, they really have. They've been on par with some of my vintage razors without doubt. So an excellent razor there. The price point on these things right now is $30, $29.95, and you can get them at the How to Grow a Mustache store, and they have two designs. They have the straight bar or the open comb. Now the one that I have is the straight bar, and like I said, it gives very, very nice shaves. It's a rather mild. Well, it's not really a mild razor. It's probably a 5 or a 6 on the Fat Boy scale. So it's a medium razor, I guess, is the best way to put it. But it's very nice. It's a little bit thinner head than it is a different design than the Synergy. So it is different, but it feels very similar. It doesn't seem like it's that much different. But when you're looking at them side by side, which is what I'm doing now, it is distinctly a different head design. So that's interesting. The gap. I mean, there's a good bit of gap underneath it for clearance and everything, and it's a mild or medium razor. It's not, like I said, it's not mild, but it's not terribly aggressive. It's pretty much middle of the road. The thing that sets this thing apart, though, is the weight of the handle, and the knurling on the handle is really nice. I mean, the finish on the whole razor is just beautiful, and of course, it's got the How to Grow a Mustache logo on it, which is rather nice. But the handle on this thing is really what makes it. It provides a very firm and secure grip, and because the knurling on it is kind of a barber pole design, it doesn't feel sticky. It doesn't like have sharp points that grasp your fingers. It's much more of a natural knurling. It's a natural feel. It's not rough at all. When you feel it, when you rub your hands along it, it's a very positive purchase, but at the same time it feels, almost, I guess the word, a smooth knurling, if that makes sense. The way it's designed, it's very easy to hold on to. So I have enjoyed this razor. It's been very nice. It works very, very nicely. The handle, the weight in the handle, it makes it interesting. I have often wondered if I would be a fan of razors that had heavy handles. And I've been kind of on the fence. It's like, well, okay, I understand the concept, but at the same time, I appreciate having the weight in the head. And, trying it out, it's not bad. It's well worth, trying out if you're interested in it. And at this price point, $30, I mean, you get an excellent razor, and it's going to last you pretty much for a lifetime. So that's the razor that I have been using this week, and I have enjoyed using it. And if you want to go over and get one, they're over at the How to Grow a Mustache store. That would be howtogrowmustachestore.com, and it's always fun to play with stuff from How to Grow a Mustache. Douglas over there does a great job, and so there you go. There's my review of the Name Taker razor. So one of the other things that I've been trying this week, in fact, the last couple of weeks, has been Captain's Choice Bay Rum samplers. They were given to me by a friend, another wet shaver, David, and he gave them to me and he said, "Here, try these out." Well, I've been trying them out. He had sent me his initial impressions on them, and I tried not to let those initial impressions jade me. Unfortunately, he was dead on in his description of the Captain's Choice aftershaves, at least to my nose. The biggest complaint is that they don't last very long. They really don't have any staying power at all. They fade quickly. So it's kind of like, okay, you get the smell, you get the initial burst, and then it's just kind of gone. Now, the ones that both he and I tried were North, Lime, their original Bay Rum aftershave, and then Cat o' Nine Tails. Okay, so first off, North, mentholated in a Bay Rum scent, and it's not too bad. It would really be nice if the scent lasted a little bit longer. I thought it had a very good balance of menthol and Bay Rum scent. I was really pretty happy with it. To me, that one wasn't too bad at all. Lime had a very nice lime smell. I mean, it really did. It was a very nice balance between the lime and the Bay Rum. However, again, the smell faded very, very rapidly. Bay Rum, just their straight Bay Rum with nothing else in it. Now, you have to understand, I work in a manufacturing industry that produces tires. This Bay Rum has a strong enough front note that it smells like burnt tires. It's not bad, it's present, and it's very plainly right up in front. It's just, and that for me was the overwhelming sense of it, was that it was just burnt tires. And then there's Cat o' Nine Tails. Again, burnt tires. Now, my favorite Bay Rum aftershave is Ogallala. And quite honestly, the Bay Rum from Captain's Choice is not the same as Ogallala. Ogallala has, it doesn't have the the same smells, and I don't know what exactly is causing that kind of a burnt tire smell within the Captain's Choice Bay rums. And quite honestly, some people may not see it as that. Again, that's the one thing that's different about scents and scent profiles. Everybody's different. But for me, the Ogallala does not have that distinctive, front note. Now, the other interesting thing is that I had heard in the past that Cat of Nine Tails was some just bracing, strong aftershave. And quite honestly, it's not as bad as, my Ogallala has been in the past on a day that I haven't been too good with my technique and I have just a little bit of razor burn going on. To me, I found the Cat of Nine Tails to be, not that special, to be quite honest. I mean, it was, to me, not a whole lot different than just the ordinary bay rum. Okay, so in the end, the face feel, the bay rums from Captain's Choice were very cleansing. I had a very, it wasn't oily or anything like that afterwards. It was very kind of light and drying a little bit, but not overly so. I found that very pleasant. But the smells, the actual aftershave smells, lasted for me about a half an hour, about the time that I got to work and walked through the parking lot. It was gone. Now, you're probably just thinking, well, you got accustomed to it. I did this over about 2 weeks, and I had put it on my hands and wrists, and just to make sure. And honestly, by the time I got to work, it had pretty much dissipated. So, I would suggest, okay, quite honestly, if you're interested in a bay rum, I really like the North. I really like the lime. I mean, those are good smells. The bay rum and the Cat of Nine Tails, they're not anything special for me. I would suggest that you try the sampler. Go ahead and get the sampler and try it out. Again, I am a huge fan of samples, just because you do get an opportunity to try it out and see if you like it. I think the North is very, very refreshing with the menthol that's in it, and the lime is just, it really is nice in the morning. And in fact, I used it with some lime shaving cream, and the effect overall was just, I was going to say sublime, but it was very, very nice. So that would be my recommendation. That's been my experience with it. And again, if you like bay rums, give it a try. So I was out and about the other day, and I got to thinking about something. Have you ever noticed that within our society, we absolutely celebrate people who are, different? It's the essence of almost every movie out there. There's someone who doesn't follow along. There's someone who doesn't play the game. There's someone who is, just not normal. And that person within the realm of movies or books, literature, etc., is held up. When you look at the movies as of late, look at something like, the Marvel comic movies, okay? You have people who are different, that step outside of normal society, and they're held up as something special and something to be revered. Look at the movie Divergent. There's this person who is not normal, who sees something different, who doesn't run with the crowd, is held up as a heroine within the movie. It's really rather interesting when you look at almost all of the themes of movies and books. All the people that are there are different. But then when you step onto the other side of the screen, on our side of the screen, or on our side of the pages of the book, you come to the realization very quickly that being different, well, is not accepted at all. In fact, it's to be derided. It's to be scorned. Oh my God, you're different, You're not supposed to do that. How can, that's not the way people act. How can you think that? Think about that for a minute. Within the movies and literature and things like that, we celebrate differences, but in real life, we laugh at them. Isn't that odd? Isn't it kind of telling that we're okay to celebrate differences, but only in our fantasies, only in our dreams, only in the things we use for entertainment? That's not real. It's not reality. It's supposed to be captured on the screen or captured in a book, but my gosh, don't do it in real life. Are you kidding me? Really? Wow. Now, when you put that together with the stuff that we're fed, women are supposed to be thin, almost anorexic. Men are supposed to be stout and muscular, Men aren't supposed to have feelings. Women are supposed to have all the feelings. And then you step back to, that's the image, that's the persona, that's the dream. It's really a bizarre situation where we're being fed one thing, but it's not reality. And when we try to actually do that, well, that's not reality either, and we get into trouble. It's really bizarre. It's one of these things where, it touched on me that there was somebody who was trying to do something for someone and was being scorned for it. But, when you think about it, that would make a good movie. Well, yeah, it would, because in the movie it would be okay. But in real life, no, it's not. It's not okay at all. And I wonder if subliminally, if in our subconscious we understand that situation, if we understand that we can have these aspirations and these dreams, but only in the movies and the fantasies of books. And in reality, in our everyday life, we are supposed to be normal. We're supposed to be that round peg in a round hole. We're supposed to fit the typecast. We're supposed to do what we're told. We're supposed to show up at work on time and work all day and get things done, and then we're supposed to go home so that we can have, friends and family and eat dinner and go, go out and do the things that society expects families to do, because, well, that's what societies expect families to do. And then if we look at people who don't do that, if we look at the person who, for example, works 2 or 3 jobs, well, they're different. Really? They're living life. They're out there. They're getting it. They're doing it. But no, that's not normal. That's can't do that. Or if you see somebody that goes to help somebody else, ooh, that's different, and that'll make a story, because normal people, we don't do that. And then you take that one step further. Well, the normal, the societal norm is, to utilize the products that are being sold by Procter & Gamble and Gillette and those guys, and the oddballs, the ones who are, doing something that is outside the norm, are the ones that are, doing traditional wet shaving with straight razors, things like that. My God, it's a knife. You're holding a knife to your throat. Oh my gosh, that's dangerous. That's not normal. Really? Huh. It's just curious. I get to thinking about things like that, and it dawns on me that we have kind of a twisted scenario here where people who are different get to exist and get to be celebrated only in our fantasies, only in the movies, only in books, only on TV shows. So as you're out and about, think about that. Take a look around and see, how many people do you interact with that are the round peg in the round hole? I'm sorry, but, I don't want to be the square peg either. I want to be octagonal. Yeah, and typically what ends up happening is that octagonal peg ends up getting beat on trying to make them fit in that round hole. It happens in our schools, it happens in our work, it happens, well, in society in general. And it's something that is very curious. Because in the movies and in books and things like that, I'll just use movies as the example, they're typically movies about those square pegs or those triangular pegs or even octagonal pegs. And they're celebrated and they're lifted up and they're demonstrated as something, well, almost heroic. But out here, on this side of the screen, people don't treat different quite the same. Well, that concludes this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you have some suggestions or would like a topic covered, drop me an email at brushandsoapandblade@gmail.com or give me a call at 864-372-6234 or contact us on Twitter at Brush and Blade. You can also visit us at our blog, brushandsoapandblade.wordpress.com. As always, we're available on iTunes and Stitcher.